In 2022, BMW sold you a car. You paid $55,000, maybe more. The heated seats were already in there, the wiring, the heating elements, the sensors and control modules, all of it physically installed in the car you just bought. And then BMW sent you a bill, $18 a month, to use them. Not for a feature they added after purchase, not for a software update, not for anything BMW built or installed after you drove it off the lot. $18 monthly for a heated seat that existed the moment you signed the paperwork. The internet exploded. Headlines ran for weeks. BMW eventually backed down, publicly, loudly, with apologies. Or did they? To understand what BMW did, you need to understand what cars have quietly become. A modern vehicle is not just a machine. It is a software platform on wheels. Since approximately 2018, BMW has built every car on its global production line identically. One hardware specification, one wiring harness, one unified set of sensors, modules, and actuators. Regardless of what trim level you ordered, regardless of what features you paid for. The distinction between an entry-level model and a fully loaded one is no longer primarily the hardware. It is a digital switch set in a software configuration file, deciding what you are allowed to use. BMW calls this ConnectedDrive. If the hardware is already installed, already paid for, already physically inside every car, then activating a feature costs almost nothing. And if activating it costs nothing, you can charge for it forever. In July 2022, BMW quietly launched a subscription store, first in South Korea, then Germany, then the United Kingdom, then New Zealand. Here is what they listed: heated seats, $18 a month; heated steering wheel, $10 a month. That is not a features list. That is the contents of a car you already bought, repackaged into a monthly bill. You paid $55,000, and BMW's position was that warmth in your seat. Hardware installed at the factory, wiring already connected, switch already in place, was worth an additional $18 every single month, forever. That's not a subscription, that's ransom. 90% of BMWs on the road in 2022 had heated seat hardware already installed, already in the car, already paid for at the point of purchase. BMW wanted monthly payments to turn them on. Within 48 hours, BMW was trending globally, not for engineering excellence, not for design, for the decision to lock a physical, already installed component behind a digital paywall. Reddit threads reached 50,000 upvotes. YouTube videos pulled millions of views. Automotive journalists who had covered BMW for decades called it a fundamental betrayal of the ownership contract. You don't own the feature. You rent access to it indefinitely. BMW's head of marketing, Piotr Nota, eventually responded. He said, customers felt they were paying double. Not, customers were right. Not, we made an error. Customers felt that way. That was not an accident of phrasing. That was a legal team's fingerprints on a corporate statement. Acknowledge the emotion. Disclaim the fact. Preserve the right to try again. In September 2023, BMW announced they were ending the heated seat subscription. Headlines ran within hours. BMW backs down. Consumer win. The subscription era in cars is over. Not quite. BMW stopped charging for hardware-based features, seats, steering wheels, physical components already installed at the factory. But the ConnectedDrive store is still open. Right now, in 2026. Real-time navigation, subscription. Remote parking, subscription. advanced driving assistance, subscription. Concierge services, subscription. BMW remains fully committed to the ConnectedDrive environment as an essential part of the global BMW after-sales strategy. Translation: we'll stop charging you for your seat heater, but the software, the features that used to come with the car, those remain ours. Monthly, quietly, forever. They didn't lose the war. They adjusted the front line. Tesla charges $99 a month, or $8,000 up front, for full self-driving. A product their own legal documentation confirms does not make the vehicle fully self-driving. And Tesla began restricting features previously included on older vehicles, placing them behind new subscription tiers. Owners who had already paid found themselves paying again. Mercedes-Benz introduced the acceleration increase subscription on their EQ electric vehicles, $1,200 a year. The car ships from the factory with its performance deliberately limited. You pay annually to restore what the car was engineered to do. General Motors generated over $2 billion in software subscription revenue in 2025. This is not a side experiment. This is the next revenue model for an industry that has already sold you the hardware. Mercedes built a car capable of 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. They shipped it doing 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds and charged you $1,200 a year to get the car you thought you bought. Here is the structural problem that makes this worse, not better. A combustion engine has approximately 2,000 moving parts. An electric drivetrain has roughly 17. For manufacturers, that simplicity creates an immediate revenue problem. If there's almost nothing to service, almost nothing to replace, where does the income come from after the initial sale? The answer they landed on is software. When your car is a computer, every capability is a line of code. Code can be restricted. Code can be gated behind a login. And gated code can be monetized, monthly, silently, without a single additional component ever being manufactured or shipped. BMW has outlined targets for connected vehicle software revenue of $600 per car per year. Over 10 million connected BMWs by 2030. That is $6 billion annually from cars already sitting in driveways, already fully paid for. Manufacturers no longer want a single transaction. They want a perpetual relationship, one in which the car you own is the beginning of an ongoing payment stream, not the end of one. You buy the device. You subscribe to its capabilities. In this series, we keep coming back to numbers, because corporations think in numbers. 3 decisions, 3 companies, 3 numbers. In 1977, Ford calculated that a human life was worth $200,000, less than the cost of fixing 3 million gas tanks. In 2014, GM calculated that fixing a fatal ignition switch defect cost 57 cents. In 2022, BMW calculated that a heated seat, hardware already installed, already wired, already inside the car you owned, was worth $18 a month. 3 companies, 3 numbers, 3 different kinds of calculation. Ford and GM put lives on a balance sheet against dollars. BMW put something different on theirs. No one was harmed. No recall was issued. The calculation was simpler. How much will customers tolerate before they walk away? When customers answered, loudly, BMW revised the number, slightly, strategically, and kept the model. Subscribe to Auto Underworld. Turn on notifications. Next week, a scandal the industry spent 4 decades trying to keep out of the headlines. The documents exist, the numbers are real, and someone made a calculation they were never supposed to have written down. We'll see you then.